that you probably don't see wasabi products in your local supermarket or restaurant. Wasabi's spice comes from a chemical reaction that occurs when you break down its cells. But this reaction is short-lived. 5 minutes after you've grated the wasabi, the spicy flavour peaks. But leave it for 30 minutes and almost all of the flavour is gone.
If you take a slice of wasabi and eat it like a carrot, you'll get very little flavour, only what your teeth are able to break down. The grater breaks down the cell's walls, brings the two compounds together, and a significant factor in that chemical reaction is the byproduct, which is sucrose, so you get a natural sweetness in wasabi. And that's what surprises people when they eat it. Wasabi is naturally sweet, and it's very floral, much more aromatic, and it still has the pungency of delicious.
Fresh wasabi may be the real thing, but it doesn't look like fake wasabi is going away anytime soon.
Once you've had the fresh wasabi, you understand the difference. You know, there's a place for the imitation taste. You can't, get fresh wasabi into a small sushi takeaway box. You need to grate it. You need to treat it with a certain amount of reverence, and it's expensive. So there's a place for the imitation product. But I'd encourage anyone to try fresh wasabi because it's the real thing.
Time to stock back up.
I need a drop. Tack, tack.
Avocado has become one of the world's trendiest foods. As the poster child of millennial healthy eating, this superfood is now a mainstay for foodies everywhere. But have you noticed your avo on toast is costing more and more? Avocado prices have rocketed in recent years by up to 129%, with the average national price of a single Hass avocado reaching $2.10 in 2019, almost doubling in just 1 year. So why are avocados so expensive? Archaeologists in Peru have found domesticated avocado seeds buried with Incan mummies dating back to 750 BC. But it was the Aztecs in 500 BC who named it aguacate, which translates to testicle. When Spanish conquistadors swept through Mexico and Central America in the 16th century, they renamed it aguacate. The farming of aguacate developed over the next few hundred years, predominantly in Central America and South America. But consumption of the alligator pear outside of these regions before the late 19th century was almost non-existent. The commercialization of aguacate began in the early 1900s, but was focused on branding avocados as a delicacy for the wealthy. Like this advert in The New Yorker from 1920, which declared them as the aristocrat of salad fruit. But a selection of Californian growers realized that the hard-to-pronounce aguacate was off-putting for the mass market, so they formed the California Avocado Association. By the 1950s, production scale grew, and avocado prices fell to about 25 cents each. Popularity increased further with the wave of inter-American immigration in the 60s. As Latin Americans brought their love of avocados with them to the US. But as demand increased, supply had to keep up, and the true difficulties of yielding large-scale avocado crops began to show. Avocado orchards require an extraordinary amount of costly resources in order to flourish.
There are multiple inputs that avocados require, whether it's water, fertilizer, pruning, pest control, the sunburn protection of trees. All those go into making your chances better of having a very good quality crop. When we decide to plant an avocado orchard, we'll plant trees that come from certified nurseries. We have to place our orders years in advance. On average, if we're producing 100,000 pounds per acre, that takes about 1 million gallons of water, so 100 gallons per pound. So it'd be about 50 gallons per 8-ounce fruit. But that's dependent on what Mother Nature will throw at you. You know, we have wind, we have intense sun. It's really hard for a grower to manage the unmanageable things that will affect a crop.
The surge in popularity of avocados stalled during the fat-fighting frenzy of the 1980s, with an average of only 1 pound per capita being consumed in America by 1989. The decade's low-fat obsession drove consumers away from avocado because of its high fat content, without really understanding the nutritional truth hidden within.
When it comes to fat in food in general, people tend to get a little bit concerned because we often hear in the media that fat isn't good for us. But the type of fat that's in avocados is monounsaturated fat, which is actually often deemed healthy fat or heart healthy fat. So while there is a lot of fat in avocados, it's actually quite good fat.
Avocado started its meteoric comeback at the turn of the millennium, and it was helped by an unlikely political decision. In 2005, the US Department of Agriculture lifted a 90-year-old ban to allow the importation of Mexican avocados to all 50 states. Initially, this decision angered Californian growers, who feared the move could slash local growers' sales by as much as 20%.
What actually transpired and took place was as that Mexican supply became much more prevalent and available, retailers got behind marketing and selling avocados. Food service providers, restaurants started putting it as permanent parts of their menus. And demand started to boom because the inconsistent supply chains before were now consistent, and consumers were allowed to enjoy avocados every day of the year.
The biggest day of the avocado calendar became Super Bowl Sunday, when it's now estimated that almost 200 million pounds of avocados are eaten during the big game in America. But if you take a moment to consider the resources needed to produce that amount, you can start to understand avocados' elevated prices. According to experts, it takes roughly 270 litres of water to grow a pound of avocados. So 200 million pounds could require as much as 54 billion litres of water, which means droughts or heat waves can have devastating consequences on the avocado industry. In fact, that's exactly what's been happening in California for the last 7 years, with the Sunshine State only recently being declared drought-free in 2019. Which goes a long way to explaining record avocado prices. In some countries, like Chile, avocado cultivation is being blamed for exacerbating droughts, as lush green orchards overlook dry riverbeds.
There.
Perhaps the biggest reason for avocado's rise to dominance is the emergence of the clean eating lifestyle. No longer just a chip dip for special occasions, this superfood can be found in a plethora of recipes in cafes and restaurants everywhere around the world. And those who are eating them are really keen for you to know about it. Just type #avocado into Instagram, and you'll be hit with over 10 million search results. But is the glorification of avocado justified?
There's quite a big hype around avocados, but it actually is quite justified when it comes to how nutrient dense this food is. There's not many foods that actually replicate it in terms of a nutritional profile. When it comes to calling something superfood, I'm not really for that label. Avocados are definitely a good food to include in your diet, but like I said, you're not really missing out if you don't like them or if you can't eat them for any reason. Monounsaturated fats, we can find that in things like olive oil and olive, nuts and seeds, vitamins and minerals. We can find that in other green vegetables, so spinach and broccoli and things like that. So there's ways of getting those nutrients in without having avocado.
All of this produce requires an astonishing amount of labour. Even once grown, pruned and picked, avocados need costly distribution methods in order to be delivered fresh and ripe to far-flung corners of the world.
You're living in Philadelphia, right? You want to buy a ripe avocado in Philadelphia. What they do is they ship green avocados from California to Philadelphia. They send them to the ripening center. They warm them up and get ethylene in them so they all ripen. And then when they're moved out to the retail stores, you're actually buying something that's almost ready to eat or ready to eat. Because if you were to buy a green avocado that's shipped straight from California to your market, you would have to ripen it yourself over 7 to 10 day period. And most consumers are a little more anxious for their avocado toast than waiting 10 days.
With prices so high, the commodity of avocados has attracted a spate of thefts from orchards and delivery trucks worldwide. In New Zealand, armed night patrols and electric fences have been introduced after a grower in Northland had 70% of his orchard stolen. There's even further grim reading for avocado lovers. In Michoacan, where 80% of Mexico's avocados originate, cartels run a so-called blood avocado trade, violently enforcing a non-negotiable extortion fee from farmers based on the size of their land and the weight of their crop. Some restaurants have begun an avocado boycott as we all weigh up the ethics behind our eating habits. Experts suggest that water shortages could affect 5 billion people by 2050, and rainfall in the so-called drought belt which includes Mexico and South America, is predicted to decline. But whilst evidence of environmental degradation is mounting, the avocado industry is still growing, along with consumer demand. In certain places, the sustainability of avocado production will become untenable.
Let's go!
Enemy spotted A.
Blocking sight.
Feeling sight.
Light planted. Blocking sight. Reloading.
Last player standing. Match point.
None of my stuff has malfunctioned yet. Can we celebrate that? Come on, let's go!
Reloading.
Cutting their vision. Still inside.
Light planted. One down.
One enemy remaining.
Your tactics failed. Here. Prepare yourselves. We fight once again.
Can I get a drop? Let's flush them out. They will cover! See nothing.
Spike down A.
Enemy killed. Enemy spotted A.
Last player standing.
Fire in the hole!
Defenders win.